Welcome to my predictions slash what I think the rankings should be. This is going into week 13 rankings. This is rivalry week, and let's just get into the rankings. So I got Georgia at number one. This has been a dominant defense all year, and they've been so dominant all year that even if they didn't win the SEC, I think they would still be in the playoff. They wouldn't be, the number one seed, but they'd be the fourth seed. Uh, so yeah, there's not really much more to be said about this Georgia team, other than it should be number one in the country right now. Defense is still dominant. And yeah, on to the number two spot. At number two, I have Cincinnati. Now Cincinnati, that was a dominant performance against SMU. SMU is a pretty good team. They obviously lost to Houston earlier in the season, which kind of derailed their season. And then they lost to Memphis the next week, which was not good. But still, SMU is still a pretty quality opponent, and this was a quality win for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, the committee has them ranked lower than I do. I just value winning more than they do. And yeah, they have East Carolina coming up this week. East Carolina, it seems like it's a good team. I think Cincinnati will take them and just destroy them. I've really watched a lot of East Carolina football, but they're 7-4, which isn't bad, pretty good. Their one quality win, it seems, coming up could be a potential win against Houston. Houston right now is ranked 24. And yeah, that could be a very quality win for them. They definitely do need a little more to bolster the resume, just because the committee's just not going to respect them. I still think they get in, just because there's just not as many quality resumes this year, especially with Oregon losing out to Utah. And technically, Oregon could still win the Pac-12. They would have to win this week against Oregon State, and then they would play Utah again. But they probably wouldn't beat Utah because they just got destroyed by them yesterday. So technically Oregon could still have a case if they beat Utah the Pac-12 championship game, but probably not. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But yeah, Cincinnati at number two. The first change, I got Ohio State at number three. What a dominant performance against Michigan State. Michigan State just did not stand a chance. It's funny that Mel Tucker, he signed that extension before the game. There was like $8 million per year, something like that, for over 10 years, something like that. But it's funny that he just got destroyed by Ohio State right after he signed that extension. But yeah, Ohio State just destroyed them. That offense looking crazy good. They got a game against Michigan this week that really does seem like a playoff playing game, kind of. They would have to obviously win the Big Ten title after this, but it kind of does seem like, this is going to be like a playing game, kind of. But yeah, Ohio State at number three. All right, I have Alabama at number four. Now, Alabama, Arkansas gave them a little bit of a challenge, but they kind of took care of it. What's really interesting for them is, obviously, if they beat Auburn this week, which, Auburn's looking a little bit shaky. They lost to South Carolina this week, or last week. So they're kind of looking shaky, so it looks like that might be an easy Bama win. But next week, if they lose if they lose against Georgia in the championship game, are they in the playoff or are they not? Like I said before, there really isn't that many teams that could take that number four spot over Alabama. Maybe you put this Notre Dame team that's only lost one game, and it's only lost this game to Cincinnati. Maybe you put the Big 12 champion, whether it's Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. I don't know. That's a really interesting debate that I think will have to happen. Or maybe even you put in Michigan or Ohio State, depending on whether each team lose. They would have those two losses that they would have, Ohio State would be in that scenario. In one scenario, would be Michigan and Oregon. Those would be two quality losses, and in Michigan State, it would be Ohio State and Michigan State. Again, two good quality losses. So you don't really know who. It's a really intense debate to see who you put at 4 if Alabama loses in the SEC championship game. I put Michigan at number 5. And like I said in the Ohio State part, this is a playing game, kind of. This week's game is a playing game. I mean, I wouldn't say it's an eliminator game, just because you really don't know if Auburn, assuming they get past, Bama, if Bama gets past Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and they go to the SEC championship game, if they lose, you really don't know if they're going to not put Michigan in at 4. Probably not. I mean, the strength of schedule is not that good besides those two quality losses against Michigan State and Ohio State. But, I mean, you could. Maybe. But, yeah, I put them at 5. And I think this is, a very crucial game, obviously. But I think this is a playing game, kind of. And whoever wins this game between Ohio State and Michigan has a clear roadmap to the playoff. And yeah, on to number 6. I have Notre Dame at number 6. And I was really debating whether to put Oklahoma State here, but I ended up putting Notre Dame here just because, I mean, their one loss is to that Cincinnati team, and Oklahoma State's one loss is to Iowa State. And Iowa State's kind of cratered, but a crater in recent weeks. But yeah, I mean, you do really kind of feel bad for Notre Dame just because they only have one loss this season, and if they were undefeated, they would be going to the playoff. But they're not, obviously, and that one loss they do have is to a playoff team, I think, at this point. So yeah, they have a kind of a hard road to get into the playoff. But I wouldn't count them out. I just think they need some chaos. I think they need Bama losing in the SEC championship game, which is possible. But yeah, I think they need chaos to get into the playoff. And they obviously need to beat Stanford this week. But yeah, that's really all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.